Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad-Bhagavatam, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Canto 2, Chapter 2, texts 20, 21 and 22. Text 20. Nabhyam stitam. What shall I do? Shall we go through word by word? Or I can just chant the verse. Nabhyam stitam hridayadiropya tasmad udanagatya. There are 3 verses, it'll take some time. Udanagatya rasitang nayan munihi tatonu sandhaya dhiyamanasvi svatalo mulang shanakair nayeta. Translation. The meditative devotee should slowly push up the life air from the navel to the heart, from there to the chest, and from there to the root of the palate. He should search out the proper places with intelligence. Purport. There are 6 circles of the movement of the life air, and the intelligent bhakti yogi should search out these places with intelligence and in a meditative mood. Among these mentioned above is the Swadhishthana Chakra, or the powerhouse of the life air. And above this, just below the abdomen and navel, is the Manipuraka Chakra. When upper space is further searched out in the heart, one reaches the Anahata Chakra. And further up, when the life air is placed at the root of the palate, one reaches the Vishuddhi Chakra. Text 21. Tasmad bhuvarantarang unnayeta niruddha saptayatano napekshaha stitva muhurtardam akuntha drashtir nibhidya murdhan visrijit parangataha. Thereafter the bhakti yogi should push the life air up between the eyebrows, and then, blocking the 7 outlets of the life air, he should maintain his aim for going home back to Godhead. If he is completely free from all desires for material enjoyment, he should then reach the cerebral hole and give up his material connections, having gone to the Supreme. Purport. The process of giving up all material connections and returning home back to Godhead, the Supreme, is recommended herein. The condition is that one should be completely freed from desire for material enjoyment. There are different grades of material enjoyments in respect to duration of life and sensual gratification. The highest plane of sensual enjoyment for the longest period of life is mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, text 20. All are but material enjoyments, and one should be thoroughly convinced that he has no need of such a long duration of life, even in the Brahmaloka planet. He must return home back to Godhead and must not be attracted by any amount of material facilities. In the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, text 59, it is stated that this sort of material detachment is possible to attain when one is acquainted with the supreme association of life. Parang drashtva nivartate. One cannot be freed from material attraction unless he has complete understanding of the nature of spiritual life. The propaganda by a certain class of impersonalists that spiritual life is void of all varieties is dangerous propaganda to mislead the living beings into becoming more and more attracted by material enjoyments. As such, persons with a poor fund of knowledge cannot have any conception of the Param, the Supreme. They try to stick to the varieties of material enjoyment, although they may flatter themselves as being Brahman-realized souls. Such less intelligent persons cannot have any conception of the Param as mentioned in this verse, and therefore they cannot reach the Supreme. The devotees have full knowledge of the spiritual world, the personality of Godhead, and his transcendental association in unlimited spiritual planets called Vaikuntha Lokas. Herein, Akunta Drishti is mentioned. Akunta and Vaikuntha carry the same import, and only one who has his aim fixed upon that spiritual world and personal association with the Godhead can give up his material connections even while living in the material world. This Param and the Param Dham mentioned in several places in the Bhagavad Gita are one and the same thing. One who goes to the Param Dhama does not return to the material world. This freedom is not possible even by reaching the topmost loka of the material world. The life air passes through 7 openings, namely 2 eyes, 2 nostrils, 2 ears, and 1 mouth. Generally, it passes through the mouth at the time of an ordinary man's death. But the yogi, as mentioned above, who controls the life air in his own way, generally releases the life air by puncturing the cerebral hole in the head. The yogi therefore blocks up all the above mentioned 7 openings so that the life air will naturally burst forth through the cerebral hole. This is the sure sign of a great devotee's leaving the material connection. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishta Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swamini Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharne Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatana Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurin Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Shreshtham Manamapi Shachiputra Matra Surupam Rupam Tasyagratamurpuring Mathurim Goshtavatim Radha Kundam Girivaramaho Radhika Madhavasham Prapto Yasya Pratita Kripaya Shri Gurum Tamnatosmi Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Ataf Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagarna Raghunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagarna Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitangscha Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. I've been asked to speak on these 3 verses by the devotees of Sri Jagannath Mandir, situated in Sheshadripuram in Bangalore. Most of them probably haven't been able to go to the temple at all for quite some time. They very kindly invited me to speak to them. So thank you very much to all those devotees there for kindly thinking of me. As usual in Srila Prabhupada's purports, although the language is very simple, but there's so much depth. Srila Prabhupada's Krishna-given, God-given ability to present very deep and secret truths in a manner that is understandable for people coming from a completely different culture. The topic that's being discussed is that of the bhakti yogi, who is following what Srila Prabhupada used to refer to as the mechanical yoga system, Ashtanga yoga. Mechanical in the sense that there are certain techniques to be followed. Sitting, breathing, how one places one body and how one breathes has got intrinsically nothing to do with anything spiritual. And of course, prior to that, one has to prior to any type of yoga, whether it's karma yoga, jnana yoga, dhyana yoga is being discussed here, the Ashtanga yoga, of which dhyana yoga is the crux. They're all to be preceded by yama and niyama, certain rules of how one should conduct oneself and certain social rules, for instance, not stealing. So it's a mechanical yoga system, and we can see how it's described here, how the yogi, ultimately he wants to, he's preparing for the time of death, and he wants to block all the holes in the body and force the life air up through the Brahmarandra. This is a discussion of the chakras, the various chakras within the body, which the yogis, following the process of Kundalini, they meditate on these different chakras, and the idea is to raise the life air so that the life air can be discharged from or leave the body through the Brahmarandra, the hole at the top of the head, which you can't see. If you shave someone's head and try and look and find a hole, you won't find a hole per se. But that is, it's a potential hole, you could say. It opens up when the yogi leaves the world through that hole. And most don't. Srila Prabhupada writes here that an ordinary person leaves through the mouth, but it's also common, and particularly at the present time, because people are very sinful, they leave through the anus. That's most inauspicious, if they leave the body through the anus. That means they're going down, 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 and down. Very inauspicious. So the idea is by a mechanical system that one raises the life air, the prana. Now this is fairly well known, started to become fairly well known in the Western world also, in the beginning maybe late 1950s and then 1960s. Even before that, but particularly at that time, when there was a lot of interest in yoga. It was very new and exciting and in the Western world, and people were interested in consciousness raising and mystic techniques from India and from Tibet. The ancient yoga systems, there were books by Lobsang Rampa, some person who claimed himself to be some person from England who wrote a bunch of books about the experiences of mystic yogis in Tibet, which he was able to understand through or link with through his mystic vision or something like this. Although it's a complete fraud, could easily be for anyone who actually knew anything about Tibetan Buddhism, could be understood to be a complete fraud. But it awakened interest in the minds of many people. I also read one of those books. It's the tabloid version of Buddhism, Tibetan Buddhism. So it awakened an interest. There's one of these things you can do. And then people were taking drugs, and they thought they had these visions, and they thought it was spiritual. These things are going on. Srila Prabhupada, you may have heard his lectures or talks. He often says, when he disapproves of something, he often says, these things are going on. And prior to that, Aldous Huxley, a famous writer, his name is still fairly famous nowadays. He wrote a book called The Perennial Philosophy, which analyzes that throughout the world, and especially in the mystical East, of course, people who came to India and expecting to see yogis jumping around here and there, mostly they found a bunch of people just trying to maintain their families like everywhere else. But especially in the mystical East, there were mystics. But not only in the mystical East, in the West also. There are mystics who had they advanced to a level of spiritual consciousness by which they could understand Tattvamasi. It's recorded in the Upanishads. You are that. You are that which pervades everything, which gives rise to everything. And if you take the literal meaning as it is, it appears to me, it appears to say that you are that. You are that Atma which pervades everything. There's much controversy over the actual meaning of that, but Yadadvaitam Brahma Upanishadi Tadapyasya Tanubha. So Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami also admits that how the Vaishnavas have dealt with this in different ways. Taking a staunchly dualistic view that there's no such thing as anything impersonal whatsoever. And others, they admit that it's there. That this is the Gauriya situation according to this statement of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, that we admit there's some impersonal feature, but that's not the ultimate message. And when it says Tattvamasi, it doesn't literally mean that you are the supreme, all-pervading source of everything in all respects. You have some qualities you share with that. So anyway, Aldous Huxley wrote this book with the idea that the pinnacle of mystic realization is to understand that it's all one. And it's everywhere. The mystics can understand. It's all one. Everything is one. I am you, and you are me. And neither of us really exist because everything is one, and we all have to merge into that ultimate one reality. You could cut that little section out and make a clip of that put it on the YouTube, and then you'll have Bhakti-Vikas Swami speaking Mayavad. That's what they say. And this idea became very popular among the beatniks and the hippies. You've heard of the hippies. Actually, our devotees in India, they'd probably never heard of hippies if they hadn't come to Srila Prabhupada's lotus feet and read the Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita, in which is described how Srila Prabhupada was preaching among the hippies. So from the Prabhupada Lilamrita, and some of us from our personal experience, understand that the hippies, they had long, flowing, wavy hair, and they were anti-establishment, counterculture, that was the word Stilson Judah used in the book that he wrote. Srila Prabhupada is very pleased with that. Hare Krishna and the counterculture. They were rebelling against the materialistic society and being spiritual, which for them meant walking barefoot or with sandals and having long flowing hair, not doing a regular job and having lots of sex. Oh, and drugs, that's right. And rock music. There are various factors. But one main factor was that most of them were in between their marijuana haze and their LSD experiences. They were thinking, we are all one. It's all one. And what is it? You can't say what it is. I'll quote Umapati Swami again. I've quoted him many times. Who was quoting what he'd read about Buddhists. Buddhists saying, you can't say it is and you can't say it isn't. You can't say it both is and isn't, and you can't say it neither is nor it isn't. Time for a nervous breakdown if you try to understand all that. So he had been reading things like that, he said. And then he met Prabhupada, and Prabhupada said that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of God. And he said, that's the most intelligent thing I ever heard in my life. So all these people imagining that they were one with God, that they were God, and everyone is God. And the whole culture was like that. But it was, from an actual mystic point of view, laughable. Because, as I mentioned, to go through the Ashtanga Yoga system, first of all, one has to follow yama and niyama. One has to be a civilized human being, which definitely does not include having illicit sex. And actually, for the kind of yoga system that's being described here in Bhagavatam, no sex whatsoever. There is licit sex, but for this system, no sex whatsoever. And one has to strictly follow all the basic tenets of not only human life, but for one who's endeavoring to become spiritually realized. And another thing about mystics all over the world, I'm not sure if Aldous Huxley mentioned that because I didn't read his book and I don't intend to, is that you find all over the world they rise early in the morning, which for hippies was not part of their program at all. No one in the Western world. There may have been a few monks here and there who rose early in the morning, or bakers, because they had to get up early to bake bread, to learn, people who print newspapers and things like that. But basically people, their idea is the longer you can sleep in the morning, the better. Which for most people wasn't past 7 o'clock. And Sunday was a great day, because then you can sleep till 12 o'clock. After being out all night, the night before. So it was a lower than human civilization, actually. No, it's not really counted as human civilization. But you have all these people who have drugs, illicit sex, and dirty, and imagining they're one with God. And they're doing Kundalini-yoga with all these chakras and all this and that. So we may wonder why at all Shukdev Goswami even mentions this here in Bhagavatam. After all, Parikshit Maharaj only had 7 days to live, and to perfect this system takes a long time. It's not tenable in Kali Yuga at all, because you need a longer lifespan. It was generally than the maximum 100 years you're going to get in Kali Yuga. It was generally Krite Yadhayato Vishnum. That system of meditating on Vishnu was suitable in Satya Yuga, when people had very long lifespan, 100,000 years, but people in Kali Yuga, they don't even believe that people could live 100,000 years. And they do yoga for having healthy bodies so they can enjoy sense gratification. And they think they can do yoga. That was the first question. Hayagriva, one of the early, maybe the first biographer of Srila Prabhupada, that was the first question. Well, apart from when they met on the street, where are you? That was the first question you asked him, where are you from? But then the first philosophical, if you can call it that, question he asked him is that he asked, well, can you, just paraphrasing here, can LSD help you to have spiritual realization? Prabhupada hadn't even heard of LSD at that point. He came to hear a lot about it later on. LSD means dilysergic acid, something like that. We just used to call it acid for short. Whoops! I didn't come down on a Vaikuntha airplane. Oh, I revealed it all. What to do? You can edit that out. So Prabhupada hadn't heard about it, and he heard about it a lot later. And people would come and challenge. There was an incident mentioned in the Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita in the early days in New York, and Srila Prabhupada said, someone challenged Prabhupada that well, you say LSD can't give you spiritual realization. Have you ever taken it? And they thought, wow, we got him here. And Prabhupada said, I haven't taken it, but my disciples have. You tell them. And then Hayagriva himself, he described how when Prabhupada was asked about this LSD, and Prabhupada didn't directly reply, he said, your spiritual life is here. You don't need anything else. And that was a eureka moment for Hayagriva, in which he realized, yes, that's a fact. Otherwise he was coming and looking and seeing and what's it all about. Yes, he's right. Obviously this person, he's a fully spiritually realized, God realized soul. He doesn't need LSD. He's giving us a process by which he says not only do we not need something mechanical. Taking LSD is a mechanical thing. Like the yoga system, it's a mechanical thing. It's dealing with the body, and dealing with the body in a certain way that it affects the mind. But we don't need any of these things. Our whole spiritual life is right here, that Prabhupada said to Hayagriva. Here means they're at that 26 Second Avenue, so does it mean that particular place? No, it means here means with me, with Prabhupada. He has brought the whole spiritual world. And Hayagriva had a eureka moment, a realization at that point. But the implications of that simple statement, that we can go on realizing forever, because what Prabhupada gave us is unlimited. Our whole spiritual life is here. We don't need anything else. So why is this described, and why did Prabhupada write purports on this at all? And why is it described to Parikshit Maharaj? Well, one thing is, apart from Parikshit, there were others coming behind him in future, like us, who may be enamored of that system of chakras and this and that. And also to make the point that although bhakti yogis previously may have done that, we don't need to, and we can't in this Kali Yuga. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has very kindly given us what we really need, which is from the very outset. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu teaches us Prema Pumarto Mahan, that the real desirable goal of life is Krishna Vishayak Prema, Param Purushartha. Yaha age Tunatulla Chari Purushartha, the very highly valued dharma, artha, kama and moksha, religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and even liberation, they are insignificant in relation to love. Love, that was another big word of the hippies. But Krishna Vishayak Prema, love of Krishna, not just some phantasmagorial, cosmic love. Love. I'm feeling love. Smash the mosquito. That's not love. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives it right at the beginning, whereas this mechanical system, we're talking about the bhakti yogi, but he's trying to control the mind and senses, and the last thing he does is try to go to Krishna. That's his ultimate aim. But otherwise his process is the same as that of the impersonalists, the impersonalist yogis who want to control the mind and the senses and raise the prana through the chakras and then merge into everything. Break the pot and merge into the big sky. What's the fun there? If you think what's attractive, if you think I am like air in a pot, and we're not like air in a pot. I'm talking about the Mayavada analogy given that that merging into the great oneness, it's like the air in a pot. When you break the pot, it merges into the great sky beyond it. Well, first of all, how am I like an air in a pot? What's the similarity? And even if I am, why would I want to become like the all-pervading sky? What's the benefit? What's the... You do all this very difficult system of yoga and you end up being like the air. Doesn't sound like... It's not very attractive, is it? So the process given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu from the very beginning, understand, this is God, this is Krishna. We are eternal servants of Krishna. And we don't need to do all these things. It may be stated that yes, people used to do these things, but now in Kali Yuga we have the great opportunity, in this Kali Yuga, by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Otherwise, all this system of merging one element in the body by meditation with the vast expanse of this, and dissolving the subtle body. But devotees automatically do that by chanting Hare Krishna, and by understanding I'm an eternal servant of Krishna. Then devotees, they automatically transcend the platform of identifying with the body and mind. For the Mayavadis, it's the big thing, getting free of ahankar. It's the big thing, that you have to get rid of the sense of I-ness. I mean, that comes after getting free from gross sense gratification, which the hippies and modern do-it-yourself yogis, they skip that stage of controlling the mind and senses, which means it's farcical, their whole spiritual endeavor. But controlling the mind and senses, that's not easy. But then beyond that, there's the sense of getting free from the sense that I am. That's how the Mayavadis see it. They're getting free from the sense of considering oneself as a discrete living being, as an individual living being, and then dissolve your ahankar and merge into the great oneness. But devotees don't have any problem like this at all. They don't want to, they don't aspire to just stop thinking I am, but instead their overcoming ahankar it's different, because instead of thinking I am an enjoyer of this material world, I am separate from Krishna, they simply admit, I am the eternal servant of Krishna. And that ahankar is fine. That's required. Devotees don't try to get rid of ahankar in the sense that the impersonalists do. Rather, they want to come to the proper level of ahankar, of very strongly identifying themselves as an eternal servant of Krishna. To want to be rid of the sense of I am, that in itself is offensive to Krishna. Because we are meant for serving Krishna. It's avoiding the reality of serving Krishna. It's just another way of avoiding. And say, okay, I am not an enjoyer of this material world. Okay, all right. But then what are you? Then there's no, for them there's no one to speak to, because they merged. Who are you? Where are you? Gone. But gone means yadgatva, having gone, nanivartante tadhama paramamama. They go, the bhakti yogis go to the abode of Krishna, and they don't come back again. But the impersonalists, they go through all this difficult process, and then when they're successful, if they think, I did it, as soon as they think I did it, they didn't do it. Because as soon as you think I, then you're back. So it's an impossible conundrum. You have to be free from free from all desires. To be free of ahankar means to be free of all desires. But then how do you have the desire to be free of all desires? It's impossible. And you want to be free from the sense of I, and then how do you know when you're free from the sense of I? Because as long as you're thinking I'm free from the sense of I, then you're thinking I. So these are all, and therefore the impersonalists, they deal in riddles. And they can't state anything very clearly, and nor is their understanding clear at all. Just like, for instance, if we are all ultimately one with the Supreme, how come there's so much differentiation in this world? If everything is all one, then how is there illusion? They admit there's illusion, but they say illusion, it doesn't exist. And they misuse the example of the rope and the snake. You see a rope at night in the twilight, and you mistake it to be a snake. So they say that illusion, the Mayavadis say that illusion, Maya, doesn't exist, just like the snake doesn't exist. But the rope exists, and your conception of a snake exists, and you exist to have even a mistaken conception. So it's really a very poor philosophy. As I said the other day, that Shankaracharya is famous as a great philosopher, but a great word juggler, because if you strip it down to what he's actually saying, it really doesn't make any sense. And there are so many flaws in this. And then Brahman, how does it become, if Brahman is all one and all perfect, then how does it become, where does this illusion come from? And they'll say, it says in the Upanishads, Sa-aikshata, he saw Sa-imal, what is that, Sa-imal Lokana Srijata, then he, or not Sa, because Sa can be neutral also. But that means there's some desire. He saw, and they'll say, well, it's metaphorical. And then he saw, he created all the worlds. But yeah, that means there's some consciousness, some person doing it. And say, no, you don't understand. No, that's true, I don't understand. Because what you say doesn't make any sense. And how are you going to understand it? Or we do understand, the real way of understanding it means that this refers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But you're envious Mayavadis and you won't accept that anyway. So Srila Prabhupada came, Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarni, to deliver the Western world from this impersonalism. I suspect that Srila Prabhupada coined this because the people he was dealing with were mostly hippies, and they were deeply steeped in this impersonal understanding. So it may have come from that. But even any idea of God they have, there's no proper understanding. And then the idea that the asatyam apratishtam te jagadahur anishvaram, atheism, scientism, that the world is just going on a clock without a clockmaker. There are the laws of nature without any lawmaker, and they're just going on automatically without any controller or moderator. So it's all they're impersonal laws. So this is all impersonalism, and Srila Prabhupada came to drive it away, to defeat it. And the main means is by, well, how to do that? It's all ignorance. So ignorance, ajnana, is destroyed by giving proper knowledge. And Srila Prabhupada wanted to distribute these books and then have these discussions such as these so that we can understand all these points very clearly, because we ourselves may be influenced by these wrong ideas. It's not that we're in one gang and we're ganging up on another gang. We have the Vaishnava gang and we're going to go and beat up those Mayavadis, that gang. It's not like that. We may get in some kind of party spirit where we think that, well, they're Mayavadis and we're Vaishnavas and we don't like them. Well, we don't really understand what a Vaishnava is or a Mayavadi. But Prabhupada wanted us to understand, therefore he wrote these books, and he wanted the devotees to understand them and be able to present all these things. Now, if we were meeting with a real-life Mayavadi, which actually we don't meet so many because most people who even espouse these things, they don't have a clear conception of what they're talking about anyway. Actual Mayavadis are very rare. The people who are actually trained in all the... actual Mayavad means you have to come to Vedanta Sutras, which are based on Upanishads, and then you have to go through the Mayavadi commentaries, and there are not many, and you have to understand Sanskrit grammar, Nyaya Shastra, Mimamsa, all these things. They're very few. And anyway, the few Sanskrit scholars like that, and the Madhvas take care of them anyway, and they don't have any influence. Anyway, these people don't have any influence. And time to time, the Madhvas sit with them and defeat them, and then they go off wherever they came from, and they continue being Mayavadis. So we have to see who are the actual people who are misleading the world. They're all influenced by all these wrong ideas, no doubt. Srila Prabhupada put a lot of emphasis on defeating, the word he would use, the wrong ideas which are broadcast in the name of science. That is very influential at the present time. He wasn't so much interested in defeating Christian ideas, which was another major thing he came up against all the time. He wasn't so much interested in defeating them as properly directing them, you could say. You studied this recently, you could say. He would often say that we're not come to convert the Christians, but they should take a real concept of God, a fuller concept of God. He wanted to give clear knowledge, which he himself most certainly had, and very kindly imparted that to us. And the essence of it all is chant Hare Krishna and be happy. Chant Hare Krishna and be happy means surrender to Krishna. It doesn't mean chant Hare Krishna and take a holiday and drink some beer. It doesn't mean that. Chant Hare Krishna means, as Srila Prabhupada writes here, there is a condition. The condition for going back to Godhead is that one should be completely freed from desire for material enjoyment. Oh, that's a tough one. The yogis, even to get to the stage of going, the bhakti yogis, to get to the stage of going, being able to push their life air, the prana, through the Brahmarandra, they have to be completely free from all material desire. One becomes very powerful, it seems to a jiva, he becomes very powerful. So he has to give up that sense of being powerful, that now I can enjoy anything in the material world. I can control others, these are different yoga siddhis, and simply desire to go to Krishna. So one has to be completely freed from desire for material enjoyment. For the yogi, if there's even a slight trace of material enjoyment, when he finds he has all this power, he's sublimating or controlling his material desires so that he can get the yogic siddhi, the yoga perfections. Then all of a sudden he finds, I've got this tremendous ability. And if he's got the slightest desire to enjoy this material world, then he'll indulge in that and it'll all be lost, all his yogic powers, after showing it off for some time. But it's true for the bhakti yogis, whether they follow this mechanical system or they follow Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's system of chanting Hare Krishna. One has to be completely free from all material desires. But the great thing is that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given is Rasovajang, what is that? Rasavajang rasopyasya parang drishtva nivartate. that one gets immediately if one takes to this system of Krishna consciousness, especially if one does so in the association of pure devotees, then immediately gets contact with the spiritual plane of bliss, of service, of association with Krishna, because Krishna and his name are not different. And pure devotees, they bring Krishna, they help, or their experience of Krishna, they impart to us. So many of Srila Prabhupada's disciples, actually pretty much all of them, and those who became devotees, most of them didn't go through any rigid study of Prabhupada's books before they decided to join this movement. But the experience they had of chanting Hare Krishna, the experience that Srila Prabhupada gave, the gift he gave, a drop from the ocean of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the ocean of pure bliss, of love of Krishna. Srila Prabhupada gave that, so devotees experienced that, even from the very beginning. But then, of course, they had to work on overcoming, and we have to work on overcoming our desires for material enjoyment. But at the same time, our process is more directly spiritual than mechanical. Definitely we have to make a vow to follow 4 regulated principles, and we have to be careful in our dealings with the opposite gender so that we don't become victimized by lusty desires. There are certain things we can do to help us become free from the desire for material enjoyment, but at the same time, we, by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we can go up and high and transcend those desires rather than try to just throw them off. We can transcend them by coming into Krishna consciousness, by experiencing Krishna, by chanting his holy names, and in so many other ways. But at the same time, chanting his name, Shravan, Kirtan, Smaran, all these different ways. At the same time, Srila Prabhupada is reminding us, as we are reminded throughout in the text of Srimad-Bhagavatam, we have to be completely freed from desire for material enjoyment. That's also required. We can't, in English there's a saying, you can't have your cake and eat it. Maybe in Tamil there's something, you can't have your idli and eat it. In other words, you can't have, if you want to have a cake and you eat it, then there's no cake left. So if you want to have both sense gratification and Krishna consciousness, either you choose, one or the other. You either choose to have a cake or to not have a cake, but you can't have both. Now, of course, it's not expected that one can immediately be free from all material desires, and therefore there is the process of sadhana bhakti, which helps one to become gradually free from material desires. And it's not a condition for participating in the activities of the Krishna conscious movement. We don't tell everyone that first of all you give up all material desires and then you come to our temples. We don't say that. We don't say that you stop meat eating, gambling, illicit sex and intoxication, otherwise we won't allow you to visit our temple or join our kirtan. We don't say that. One can come even if one is sinful, but at the same time one should understand or come to understand by association that all of these sinful activities, they are blocks on our real goal of life, which is to go back home, back to Godhead. So there are a few thoughts on these 3 verses and the purports there too, and the whole section that's being described. And again, thank you to the devotees of Jagannath Temple in Sheshadripuram in Bangalore for inviting me to speak. Any question there? Anything coming through? No. Shall I wait a couple of minutes? What shall we do? We can have a debate. What shall we do in the next 2 minutes? But the thing is, You can't have a debate in 2 minutes. There's not enough time. So we can chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, I can tell one anecdote which I just read in Giriraj Maharaj's latest book, which is not yet published. I got a preview version which he kindly sent me. So talking about one should be completely free from desire for material enjoyment. That sounds pretty tough. In Bombay, Srila Prabhupada gave Nava Yogendra Das Brahmachari sannyas. And then another sannyasi, I believe it was Brahmananda, said to Prabhupada that you're very kind to have given him sannyas. And Prabhupada said, no, I'm very cruel because now he can't have any sense gratification. It's a joke. The materialist will see it as a cruelty. It is a great kindness. Anything? Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. All glories to His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.